Hey everyone, thank you so much for joining us today. I am so excited because in this episode of the podcast and YouTube channel, we have Tem Zemakai, who is a teacher and host of the popular podcast Helping Teachers Thrive, which, just like this podcast, adds value to the lives of teachers in as many ways as possible. So we cannot wait to talk to you today and just give you more value, more strategies, especially if you're out there navigating the challenges of teaching. So yeah, let's get to it. Tem, thank you so much for joining us today. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. Thank you so much for having me. I'm looking forward to it.
Awesome. So as you and I are on the same path with trying to help as many teachers, I want to sort of focus a little bit on what is actually within a teacher's control, because sometimes I feel teachers they are trying to solve problems that are completely beyond their control. And let's start off with new teachers who have been teaching maybe less than 5 years. What advice would you give new teachers to help them avoid pitfalls that they could come across like down the line of teaching?
Well, the first thing that I would suggest is collaboration. That has to be your best friend as a teacher. Collaborate with your colleagues around you. And I understand that there are some teachers that unfortunately are in schools that may be difficult because of the relationship they have with other colleagues, for example, the environment they're in. But try and go out there and look for other teachers for support. Go on Facebook groups and get
Yes.
some advice in terms of planning lessons and resources. There's so much out there to help us now as teachers. I wish I had that when I was a newly qualified teacher 15 years ago. So 100% collaborate with teachers as much as possible.
Yeah,
Observe as many
definitely.
staff, I'd say as well. I mean, even to this day, I still observe staff. I still observe my senior leaders and my colleagues who've been teaching for longer than me because I want to learn new strategies that they use that have worked for them, especially if I need to work out how to deal with a certain situation. For example, a student that I might be struggling with myself, to try and find out strategies that work best for them. So 100% observe as much as you can and get as much under your belt as possible as a new teacher. And another thing that I wasn't very good at is setting boundaries.
Yeah.
Make sure you set those boundaries between work and home, clear boundaries so that you don't feel like you're working constantly from when you wake up to when you go to bed at night. Set those boundaries because that is going to benefit you when it comes to your well-being in the long run and your mental health. So make sure you have those boundaries in place. And I'd also say celebrate those little wins because
Yeah.
you are a new teacher. You will make mistakes. We still make mistakes to this day. So celebrate every little win as much as possible every single day. Write it down, make a note of it because that's something that's going to help you propel you forwards as well in terms of your well-being, your positive thinking, your mindset. But it also shows that you are doing a good job. Don't be too harsh on yourself. There's always little wins throughout the day that you can use to help you keep going and to improve your mindset and your positivity. So definitely don't miss those little wins every day.
Yeah, I have to comment on that because it is so easy as teachers to focus on every little thing that went wrong and in a day, and inevitably things are going to go wrong. That is just how it is in the profession. But there are so many things that went right, and you are in control of where your focus goes. So when you get home, if you start thinking about teaching and maybe something that went wrong, immediately like shift your mindset and be like, but what went right today? Like, what were the wins that I had today? And continuously, and I love that idea, like write them down, take that time to write them down so they really stick in your mind that, you know what, it wasn't actually as bad of a day as I thought that it was going to be, because I had all these wins that I didn't realize. I know with me, I would focus on everything that went wrong. Like I wish, like especially before I started studying mindset, I wish I had, exactly like you say, had someone in my corner in the beginning to be like, no, 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 no. You got to focus on what went right because that is where your power lies. You can't change anything that went wrong. And just with regards to what you were saying about finding people outside of teaching to help you, I think that is such a powerful piece of advice because as teachers, we often feel that the only people we can maybe look up to are the people at our school. And if, like you say, you have maybe toxic colleagues or colleagues that are not really working to where you want to be, you wouldn't ask them for advice. But I always say, start finding those teachers on Instagram, start finding those teachers on TikTok, start finding those teachers on Facebook, and join their groups and get your algorithm to make sure that they're showing you those teachers all the time, because they are the ones that are going to lift you up. They're the ones that are in a more positive space with teaching. So yeah, no, I definitely, and setting the boundaries. I mean, that just goes without saying. So definitely glad you said that one for sure. What about the older teachers, would you say? So teachers like us that have been in the profession, longer than 10 years, we're a little more set in our ways. And sometimes I don't feel this is personally for me, but some of the teachers I know, they're resistant to change. They're resistant to things like AI and that sort of thing. So what changes would you give, like what changes would you advise them to make, especially to maybe avoid burnout if that's kind of where they're headed?
I'm glad you mentioned AI. I love AI. I know there's so many teachers,
Me
older
too.
teachers that I work with that just they're scared of it, don't want to use it, but it's amazing. So that's one of the biggest things I'd say is embrace all these new technologies that come about that actually help us and save us time in teaching.
Yes.
I've used AI for lesson planning, resources. Of course, we have to adapt it because it needs to be specific to our students. But I've used it for creating assessment rubrics, feedback rubrics, assessment questions, for writing reports. It's unbelievable. It saves so much time. So definitely open your mind to AI and softwares that you can use and implement that will help you. Like you said, the older teachers are stuck in their ways, and like sometimes we find it difficult to embrace new things, but we have to get uncomfortable, right? You can't
Yeah.
grow if you're comfortable. You've got to get uncomfortable to grow and to get better and to improve. So embrace AI and embrace things that will help you save you time and reduce your workload and therefore your stress. We also need
Yeah.
to not reinvent the wheel. I see
Yeah.
teachers year on year reinventing things, doing things again. Why? Why are we starting all over? We have resources there, years and years of resources. We've
Yeah.
got our colleagues we can collaborate with. We just need to adapt things and just alter it slightly. Use AI to do that. Just
Yeah.
save time. It's just we constantly reinventing the wheel. And it doesn't make sense. Just you reuse things, adapt things, change things, alter things. And another thing that I learned, okay, I'm not an older teacher, but I've been teaching for 15 years, is be strict with your time. So
Yeah.
I used to be, I love helping people. So if any teacher came to me when I was in charge of vocational qualifications, so I'd have staff coming to me asking me questions, and I'd just give up my time and just spend time with them to help them. But actually, that was infringing on my time and it was encroaching on things that I need to do, my own paperwork, my own data admin things, my marking. So definitely be strict with your time. Set boundaries in terms of in school. If you're on your PPA sessions, we have free lessons where we're planning and marking. If
Yeah.
anyone approaches you, just say, look, can we please meet at this time on this day? Or maybe at lunch, come and see me at the end of the day. Because it's just that's going to stress you out even more and potentially lead to burnout if you're not being specific and strict with your time and putting yourself and your own needs first. But the biggest takeaway I'd say is definitely embrace new technologies.
Yeah. No, 100%. I mean, I'm all about the AI one. Like, I absolutely love it. I'm glad you mentioned the time. I did a YouTube video recently about 20 ways for teachers to protect their time. And one of the ones I looked at was surrounding, like, not necessarily surrounding yourself, but finding yourself around with colleagues who have nothing productive to say. And it's not to say they're not great people and they're probably telling you something interesting, but often they're gossiping about something. They're talking about, problems or moaning about the school, not focusing on solutions. And that is all time that is being wasted that you could be using so much more productively. And I think as teachers, like, recognize that when you are just getting trapped in a gossip conversation or a conversation that's not serving you or like your goals in teaching, you have to either not put yourself in maybe as close proximity with that teacher or really know what you can say to kind of like get out of there fast. I don't know if you've had
100%. I
colleagues
see
like
that.
that.
Yep, I have. And I just think when I hear it, I just think to myself that that's not a problem. That's a challenge. And let's find a way to overcome it and fix it rather than complaining and moaning. It's not good for our mindset. So just change it so that it's a challenge, not a problem. But also, like you
Yeah.
said, just try not to be in that environment. If it means you got to step out, walk out, or go work in a classroom rather than the office, just get out of that situation because that will impact your mood and that's not fair. So, yeah, definitely don't engage with those sorts of individuals in a
Yeah.
negative way because it just brings you down.
Yes, yeah, you just have to do your best with that for sure. I was going to ask you, like, I did have a couple colleagues that were getting it right, and I'm curious to hear from you first. Do you know any colleagues that are actually like setting the boundaries and enjoying their days, and what are some of the strategies that you maybe, or one or two strategies you've noticed that they use?
I do have one colleague actually that I currently work with. He's very good at this because he will he will work to rule, so to speak. So he will come in when he's supposed to come in and he'll leave when he's supposed to leave. But he won't let it budge either way. He won't stay after school for
Nice.
half an hour just because people say, well, you shouldn't be leaving at that time. Well, no, I've done my work. I've got everything in place. Why do I need to stay another half an hour?
Yeah.
So he will have his time. He will do exactly what he's supposed to do when he's supposed to do it, but he won't let people take um, an inch or a mile, so to speak. He also will collaborate with his team. So, for example, he teaches a sport course basically with another colleague. So they both have classes in the same year group, and they share their planning. They decide on what they're planning each, and therefore they can share the resources. It cuts down on their planning so much. I mean, of course, I understand that this might not be possible if you're not working with a colleague in on the same year group. So we have year 10s and 11s, for example.
Yeah.
But then, like we said earlier, we can collaborate on social media and find teachers on Facebook and things that we can share planning with. So that's something that he does very well. They plan together, they decide what they're doing when, and they share all their resources. And he's very strict with his time. Something that I need to learn from him, I think, definitely for
Yeah.
sure.
No, I love that because I've never really understood teachers who, I'm trying to think of the best word here, but basically like don't like refuse to share their planning, like actually like hoard their planning to themselves and hold it close and don't want to, share it with someone else, especially if it's a new teacher or someone who's working hard, and it just saves everybody time. And that is one of the ultimate things, right? Teachers are like, well, we don't have enough time.
Mm.
So yeah, I think that's great that you've got that colleague. I know for me, it was also the boundaries. It was, when I had two colleagues that I was just amazed at, and they were the ones who said, get your email notifications off your phone. They're like, when you go home, it's like DeBono's hats. Like you're putting on a whole new hat. You're like your teacher hat, like that's gone. Like you're putting on your friend hat, your mom hat, your dad hat, your like partner hat, whatever hat, your roommate hat, and focus on leaving as much of it behind as you can, unless you're going to focus on the wins, right? If you're going to go home and talk about
Yes.
your wins, okay, that's fine. But otherwise, yeah, just leave it. And that's when I took the notifications off, and it made such a huge difference. I just refused
Mm.
to answer emails or anything like that. I think that's a huge thing teachers can really, really look at.
I had that problem a few years ago, but I noticed that my son was getting a bit upset because he wasn't spending time with me. I was constantly working. I
Yeah.
thought this isn't right. Like, why am I doing this and putting my own son's well-being at risk? So that's when I just took everything off my phone. I'm not gonna lie. To begin with, it was hard. It was
Yeah.
hard. I was going on my Internet Explorer trying to get into my emails instead because it wasn't on my phone. But with more resilience and a lot more sort of strength, I suppose, in
Yeah.
thinking, no, I can't do this. My son has to come first. I'm not schoolwork anymore. I've left school for the day. I'll look at that tomorrow morning when I get back to work. So over time now, it's way easier. I don't have any schoolwork on my phone at all, and I never will do going forwards.
Yeah. No, 100%. I'm 100 totally agree. So with regards going into mindset for a sec, what are some of your best strategies for moving your mindset from a negative to a positive mindset? Because, we work with a lot of teachers. I know a lot of teachers that are still in a negative space, and that's what I work on with, my clients. And what do you do? What are some of your strategies?
Every morning I try to think of at least three things that I'm grateful for,
Nice.
because it just sets my mood for the day. And I just think there are people out there that are in really harsh situations, and I shouldn't be moaning about silly little things that really it's not that important. So I try and be grateful for the things that I have today, and I think about what I can do to help people better in my day if they need any support during the day, whether it's colleagues or students. So I try and put it. I'm grateful for things that I think about different things that I'm grateful for. So I have different gratitude practices, but I also consider other people and what I can do for them during the day, rather than constantly thinking about myself and my problems and negativity that I might have going through my brain. But if I put the focus on other people, then I'm less likely to think about those things and those issues. But I also like affirmations.
Oh, nice. Me too.
So
Yeah.
yeah, I do. I really like affirmations, and I've tried to do this with my son, not consistently. I need to do it more consistently, so that when he wakes up in the morning, I'll say, "Well, tell me some really good things about yourself. What are you good at? I'm good at this. I'm amazing. I'm brilliant. I'm kind. I'm empathetic. I help people." So just say some affirmations about yourself in terms of who you are as a person, because that helps to put you in the right mindset for the rest of the day, because you'll start looking at things positively and not negatively anymore. You'll If things happen in lessons, for example, things go wrong, you won't take that personally. You'll think, okay, that's fine. There's an error there. I can change that. I can adapt that because I'm resilient. I'm
Yeah.
strong. I'm passionate. Just think about all the affirmations that will help you to feel better within yourself. But also, you're going to project this going forwards throughout the day. So you're going to be a positive role model for your students and other staff members. Because I've got students that say, "Oh, miss, I can't do that. Oh, I don't know how to do that." I go, "You don't know how to do it yet, but
Yeah.
we will do it because you're good at this, this, this." So like, if you're doing it every day yourself and it becomes habitual, you just naturally do it with other people. And that's really important for our students, because we have a lot of kids that are struggling still with anxiety,
Yeah.
and they're struggling with social interaction. So if we can do this going forwards, it's going to benefit them in the long run. But like I said earlier as well, it's about changing things and looking at them as opportunities and not problems. Seeing it as a challenge that,
Yeah.
okay, what can I learn in this situation that's going to help me get better and is going to help me to come up with a solution. So be a solution person, not problem person going forwards, because that's what our leaders want. That's what our heads want, and our assistant vice principal. They want people that see solutions and
Yeah.
come up with solutions rather than problems. It's going to increase your chances of progression. But it's also going to help you be more positive during the day, and it's going to help your students because you're going to teach them how to see failure as a positive thing. It's not a negative. It's a step in the right direction. And what lesson is this teaching you to help you develop your skills and move forwards?
Yeah, exactly. Always one of my favorite when it's not an affirmation, it's more like a quote, but like mistakes are proof that you're trying,
Yes, I love that.
and I love that one. One of my new thing alongside the affirmations these days is intentions. So setting an intention for your day, setting an intention maybe for that lesson, like you will remain calm and focused in this lesson, or I intend to, not react if something gets out of hand, but to remain calm. Just starting, and I realize, not I realize, but also for meetings that you have, to set an intention for the outcome of the meeting, so that when you go into the meeting, you already know where you want that meeting to go because you've set an intention. So you can always direct it back to, this is what I want to get out of this meeting. So if it starts to go this direction, I'm going to pull it back, as opposed to just going into the meeting and hoping for the best. But definitely that solution-based thing, Tam, I say that to my clients as well. When you go to meet your principal with a problem, have a solution. It doesn't matter if they choose not to take your solution. but
No.
have a solution, because maybe they will be like, that's brilliant, go with that. You know, like, you never know, as opposed to just going in with the problem. And that's what I say, find friends that are also solution based rather than problem based, because that is how things get better, is if you're trying to create those solutions. So yeah, and I love that. I love that.
Mm.
So you were telling me previously when we talked about your behavioral specialist that you had on the podcast, which sounded quite interesting. What did you learn from? It was a him, right?
Yeah, no, it's Lindsay
How did you from?
Titus.
Sorry.
Yeah, she's based in the United States. But
Cool.
she was amazing because she taught me how to reframe behavior. So she hates the term behavior management. She doesn't want to manage behavior.
Okay.
She looks at it as change practices. So we're looking at changing behavior, but putting in place strategies to help our students do that rather than trying to manage their behaviors on a day-to-day basis. So she talks a lot about looking within when it comes to behavior change. So how, a bit like the affirmations and the gratitude and the practices,
Right.
how we view the world and how we respond to things will affect how we deal with our students' behavior. So if you're a sort of person who's reactive, then you're going to come at it in a negative way, which then will exacerbate the situation and make it worse for that student. And so she talks a lot about stepping back. If you see a student who is being disruptive, displaying those negative behaviors, angry, whatever's going on, stepping back and just allowing that student the time and space that they need. You can say to them, look, I understand that you're really, really angry right now, because you're giving them that affirmation that, well, yeah, Miss knows, not affirmation, what's the right word? You're giving them that confidence that, okay, Miss she understands my feeling, or Sir understands my feelings. So you're allowing them that space to help them calm and self-regulate. And then after they've managed to calm, or they've had their time to self-regulate, whether it's outside the classroom potentially, if you need to keep the other students safe, for example, then step outside and have a quiet word with them. So find out how they're feeling, find out why that happened. Of course, we have to put certain consequences in place. I like the term natural consequences. So it's not a punishment. This behavior resulted in this situation, unfortunately, because that is what you chose to do in that situation. Or you chose to react in that way. However, it's about talking to that student, finding out what sort of affected them, what went wrong, what could we have done differently, for example, and just building that relationship with them to better support that student. So it's not about managing and reacting. It's about responding in the best possible way to support our students that will benefit them in the long run. And it is to do with us, to be fair, because there are times when we might snap at kids because of how we're feeling. For example, we might be in a negative mood and mind frame, or something's gone wrong. But if we can reframe our thinking and approach things positively, we're going to approach these situations with a much more positive mindset. And it's going to be better for us and for that student when it comes to supporting them in that situation. So she talks a lot about those sorts of things, the practices and strategies that we can do to better support our students and not react to situations. Another thing that she mentioned that was something that I never thought about before, but I try to do more for now, is attaching values to rules and expectations. So don't say to your students, you have to come in quietly, don't speak, come in silently, walk in through the door, you can't run. Attach a value to it. So say that a part of my expectation that you come in silently and you're walking into the classroom, you sit down quietly. This is because we want to create a positive, calm learning environment for everybody, so that we can all feel calm and safe and supported. And I've even talked about students who may struggle with loud noises because of certain needs. And by creating this environment, that allows them to enter calmly and allows them to feel safe so that they can learn the lesson. So be honest with your students, attach a value to your rules, to your expectations, because they're going to take that on board a lot more rather than being told you can't do this, you've got to do this. Well, why? Why can't I do that? Attach a value so that they understand it a lot more.
I like the wording of feeling safe and being calm, because I think children, younger students especially, but even high school students, they will resonate with that. Like, oh, it's about feeling safe. I don't think any student ever would have thought coming in quietly links to feeling safe. links to other
Yes.
students feeling safe, right? If you told them like, why
No.
are we doing this? Well, we're doing this because ma'am wants us to do this, right? Like, right. But if you actually explain, it helps other students feel safe. Even if you maybe don't understand that, or it's not like that for you, I believe that students can easily recognize how that could be possible for other students because they know
Yes.
themselves what makes them feel safe. So that is a really great piece of advice. And just also, yeah, for me, the reactions, right? The, breath work and remaining calm as calm as possible when things are going on, trying your best not to react. Because again, it has nothing to do with you. Something is going on with that student. It's
Mm,
you just happen to be in the same proximity as them when it's happening, but it's not because of you. And reacting negatively can exacerbate the situation, make it worse. So that's why I always say, like just practicing that breathing and remaining calm as much as you can. And like you said, if you have to, ask the student if they want to go outside or take the kids outside and let the student in the
yes.
class for a second. It has to be that way. Excuse me. But that sounds really interesting. You must definitely put the link to that podcast in the show notes, and we will, yeah, so that people can access it because it sounds so interesting. And what advice, like coming back to the coworkers, I know we talked about this a little bit, but what advice would you give teachers working with toxic coworkers? And I know it's a little bit different than toxic admin, but
Yes.
a little bit. But yeah, what are your thoughts on that?
Don't suffer in silence. I do encourage you to speak up. And I know you said about admin just now, but if there is hopefully an administrator or a senior leader in your school that you trust, that you get on well with, just
Yeah,
approach them, just make them aware, and just tell them if it's your head of department, for example, um, because they could provide solutions to help you guys both move forwards. For example, if it's a
right.
coworker that you're struggling with that's creating this toxic environment, so speak up is definitely a big thing I suggest for teachers. Don't just sit quietly, and sort of fester in it, because that will have a bad impact on your attitude and your mood as well. And you said this earlier, don't be drawn to negativity. So if you have to leave the room, leave the room. Don't try not to interact in a negative way with that person, because I don't, for whatever reason, they create that toxic environment. There might be stuff going on at home, for example,
Yeah,
stuff that they're really struggling to deal with, that they're just projecting a bit like our students do, onto us. So don't take it personally and try not to react in a negative way.
yeah,
For times where you have to spend time with them, whether it's collaborating or meetings, be positive, be polite. Just be normal with them, be positive. Any negative, if they mention any problems or issues, or they come out with negativity, for example, like you said earlier, that teachers may moan about
yeah,
certain things, then try and support them. So give them an alternative, give them a positive, so that you're sort of trying to build a positive relationship with that individual. I know it is difficult. And if I'm honest, I have kind of been in a toxic, not really a toxic situation. I've I've gone back to my previous school because I've got great colleagues there. I had a great reputation. I only left because of my work-life balance, and I wanted a school closer to home so I didn't have to travel so much. But I've actually returned there because I realized that I needed that environment where I
right.
had colleagues that had my back and that looked after me, and I had a good reputation. I know the head teacher really, really well. Um, but I have also worked in a school where it was a bit of a toxic environment, wasn't comfortable. So I did exactly what I said. I went to my senior leader, I had a word with her, I made her aware, so that she then speaks to that colleague. And within that environment, I had a few other teachers that I could rely on and talk to and confide in. So find someone that you can confide in for sure, 100%. Someone that
Yeah.
you can talk to, someone that will lift up your mood, that will make you feel valued. Because we need people like that around us every day. So if you are in that sort of situation, try and find that colleague within your department or out of your department,
Yeah.
anywhere in the school, that sort of lifts you up and like knows your worth and makes you see your value and your worth. And
Yes.
because it's going to improve your positivity as well.
Yes, and you will in turn, you will feed off each other. So you will also benefit them and their situation. And one thing I would also encourage if you're dealing with toxic colleagues, because I was researching this for one of my clients, and there are a lot of podcasts on dealing with toxic coworkers, not for teachers, but for people in general. And if it's bad, I would encourage you to listen to a few of those, because there are pieces of advice coming from therapists and coming from, all of these other types of people who are giving different pieces of advice on how you could deal with a toxic colleague. And one of those pieces of advice is going to resonate with you and going to be like, okay, I'm going to try that. I'm going to try that, because there's actually quite a few options or things you could say or learn to say. And that is one thing I would encourage someone who's struggling with that to do, because otherwise, like we've said, especially if they're in close proximity to you and you can't get away from them, like they're your, teaching partner or something, hopefully not, but if it could be, then you have to find sort of a few extra strategies to really try and work around it. And then I agree with you, go and find someone in the school who is like, and have your person. Even because if you've just got that one person that makes you feel like your worth, that understands your worth, it makes so much of a difference. So I definitely, yeah, I just wanted to say that, because I'm with you. It's a tough one. And even with, with your admin, like, continue being respectful and being kind and bringing your problems and with solutions to the admin, and recognize that maybe your admin wasn't trained well. Maybe they have issues going on, and maybe their bosses are coming down on them. There's 100 reasons why it could be. So try not to take it personally, I guess, is kind of what I'm saying. Anyway, yeah. So I wanted to know, Tem, for our final thoughts, are there any books that you recommend for personal or professional development?
For personal development, 100%. There's one book called the Magic of Thinking Big by David Schwartz that I read. This was 2 years ago now, because my mindset a couple of years ago wasn't very positive. It was negative. I was the moaner. I was the person who saw everything as problems. But I read that book, and it just blew my mind. It completely changed my mindset. It talks about believing in yourself, and if you have a strong enough belief in yourself, it opens up your mind to find the ways to do things. So if you come across a challenge, you think, oh my gosh, I don't know how to do this. Believe in yourself strong enough, and it will open up your mind to find the way to do it. And you'll be able to put action in place to get things done.
Nice.
It's an amazing book. Honestly, it's such a fantastic book. And I actually bought it for my niece for Christmas, because I thought, no, it's such an amazing mindset book. But definitely, that's one I definitely recommend reading, The Magic of Thinking Big.
Okay.
Another one that I read is called Atomic Habits by James Clear. Have you read that one?
I have read it, and I highly, highly, highly recommend it as well. It really does change your perspective in a lot of ways. It's a brilliant story.
It's fantastic. It's opened my mind to habit stacking, and how to incorporate these habits on a daily basis in such a way that it's sort of embedded in your routine and it's easy to do. And it's fantastic. It's definitely another book that I'd recommend. Those two are books that change my perspective and change my daily routines. Brilliant.
I think with Atomic Habits, I would recommend any teacher to read that, if for nothing else than to shift your identity out of being first and foremost a teacher, and recognizing that your identity is so much more than just teacher. And in fact, teachers should not be first. It should be second or third, or even lower. Right? Not because your identity is wrapped in who you are at your core as a person, not what your job is. And that is what it really shifted with me with that book, is understanding that you have the power to actually shift your own identity if you want it. So
yeah, and it teaches you ways to incorporate essential habits for your well-being. So if you are a teacher who used to like to exercise and go for walks, and for example, and you don't have the time to do that now, it sort of opens up your mind to find ways to include those habits on a daily basis, so you can get back to doing the things that you love and enjoy.
Yeah, definitely. Tem, what is one piece of advice you would give to yourself as a first-year teacher?
Oh gosh. Speak up. Definitely.
Yeah.
because I was quite quiet. I was a people pleaser. I did everything for the people. I kept everything within. I didn't open up. And that just bubbled up inside of me and made me anxious and frustrated at the time. So speak up. Don't be scared that it's going to make you look bad, for example, because there are ways that we can do it professionally to make other people aware that we're not happy about a situation, for example. And ask as many, oh, it's another one, but never mind. Ask as many questions as you can. No question
Yeah.
is a silly question. Don't sit there thinking about it and worrying about it. Just ask it, because you never know. There are people around you thinking the same thing and need answers to that question. So speak up and ask questions for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Again, asking a question is going to save you a lot of time from
Mm.
wondering yourself or trying to figure it out yourself. And and going to your first one to speak up, right? There again, go follow people on Instagram or find a podcast about how do you speak up diplomatically? What kind of phrasing can I use? And start adopting that phrasing to show that you're not doing this to be negative in any way.
Mm.
You have a comment, you want to say it, you need to know this is how you feel, and that's it, right? And I think that's also something else to consider, that there are people out there who can, there's for all this free information about how you can speak up. So go and, and use it. And last one, I know you love this one. What 3 things are you grateful for today?
Today, I went to the gym today, so I'm grateful for my health for
Nice.
sure. I'm grateful for my family that are always there to support me no matter what, through thick, well, for the work, the good times and the bad times. And I'm grateful for today, the opportunity that you've given me to come on your show today and to help as many more teachers as possible. So thank you. I'm grateful for you, Marissa.
Oh, thank you, Tom. Well,
Thank
I'm
you.
also so incredibly grateful for you for coming on the show today. And I just have to say one thing I'm definitely grateful for is I took the plunge, I guess, and went to visit a company called, well, I don't even know if it's a company. It's called BNI, Business Networkers International, and it put me in proximity to all of these business owners who can bring me connections because I want to get into motivational speaking at schools. And I was so grateful for that opportunity to come my way, and then coming here and, talking to you. It's really been just such a fantastic day. So thank you so much. And just, I appreciate you for giving teachers and students, because it's all a knock-on domino effect, more opportunities to thrive with helping teachers thrive with your podcast. And I just wish you so much success and prosperity, Tam, as you move forward in all your endeavors. And I don't want to say this is the last time we'll talk, because I really love talking to you and I love your energy. Yeah, we definitely must do some live chats soon. So thank you so much.
Definitely. No, thank you so much. It's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much. I wish you all the best as well and future successes.
Thank you.